So this video is on how to insult enemies in combat and have it actually be beneficial for you, via Bon Mot. Now, the French feat, as I like to call it, involves being trained diplomacy, and it is a skill feat, which means it's usually the least desired type of feat because a lot of new players specifically will kind of look at their skill feats and go, what the hell am I doing with these? And fair enough. If you don't have a plan for what your character should be doing out of combat, skills can be really hard to fit in. So, as such, I really like things like Bon Mot that give a small ability in combat. And Bon Mot gives a little bit more than a small ability. Let's read its text. You launch an insightful quip at a foe, distracting them. Choose a foe within 30 feet and roll diplomacy against will DC. And on a success, they have a -2 penalty to perception will saves for 1 minute. They can try and do a charisma action of their own to end it early. However, they would still need to then use actions to retort it, and you can reapply it because this does not have a cooldown per target in the same way Demoralize does. Putting Demoralize on screen. Now, there. Yeah, I don't know how to get my hands in frame with this. But anyway, with Bon Mot, there are quite a few tricks that you can do with it. So I'm just going to go over a few of them. Now, a big advantage of Bon Mot is because this penalty is going to Perception Will saves, that also affects DCs because how DCs are calculated. 10 plus the modifier. So because you're affecting the modifier, you're going to be affecting the DC as well. So skill actions, such as Demoralize and Feint, also get a benefit from this. And so, Demoralize also has a cooldown per target, but Bon Mot does not. So that means you can Bon Mot repeatedly to get this -2 penalty on them, and then Demoralize at the end to thus have everything fall apart on their end, before you go in for the Demoralize and actually apply a more powerful status affliction. And also, feinting, because if you are a build that likes to feint, because I know there are scoundrel rogues or certain types of swashbuckler, or various other things that like to do feints. Mind you, it's only a select few builds that want to, but for those of you that do want to feint, this can help set that up, and if they are not retorting and using that action to just kind of get out there, ooh boy, you will get to just run over them with all of these maneuvers that now have +2. But there's another even more sneaky benefit. And this comes from the creature building rules, which I know, weird spot, but in the creature building rules, you can often set saves quickly by setting 1 high, 1 moderate, and 1 low modifier. By using Bon Mot, which doesn't take any resources and is only a single action, you can then test to see, is will the low modifier or the high modifier? Because you know if you fail, succeed, or crit succeed. It's not a secret check, you know how well you rolled, so you can use that as a hint for how good is my Bon Mot? How good are all my will save abilities? So if you're a caster, ooh boy, you now know what save you should be targeting with that single action, even if you miss, something that not even Recall Knowledge can do. Because, you know, Recall Knowledge if you miss, gets a little rough. But with this, you can then know, okay, because my bard did a Bon Mot, I know that I rolled a 17, but I still failed. Okay, they're probably going to have a higher. You can just intuit based on what you roll on your d20, and what result you got, how good their will save is. And if you fail after rolling high in a Bon Mot, you know, okay, so don't use any of my will save spells this fight. I'm going to be focusing on Fortitude or Reflex. And I think that's pretty good. As just another side benefit of this thing that's already doing a support stuff for a single action that you only need a skill feat that requires trained in order to take. Very strong. And on the topic of will save things, there are a few notable will save, like, big spells out there, but there are also some class-specific cantrips, because, like, Daze, quite frankly, isn't really at the power level where you can spam it off freely. But if you're something like the Psychic that makes Daze stronger, suddenly Bon Mot looks very, very strong, because given the -2 to will save, and then also having things like Forbidden Thought on that Psychic, which also relies on will saves, or other first level spells like Agitate, so even early game you can Bon Mot and then throw in a spell, and then your slot or your focus point or your whatever, as you're doing this, can then be far more likely to succeed, and those are things that cost resources beyond just the action. So you can get some very powerful stuff going. And also other things in Witch are like Shroud of Night and Evil Eye, so if you're playing a Witch of some kind and you have some cantrips that are about targeting will saves, you might want to have somebody in your party pick up Bon Mot, even if you are not personally the charisma character, and just like nudge your champion to take Bon Mots. That way they can feel good about being high diplomacy in combat and throw out some quips, have something to do that isn't a third tack. I think it's just very nice, and I think there are quite a few tricks to using it. Now, of course, cantrips are a little boring, so let's talk about a big spell instead. Synesthesia. This is one that a lot of people complain at me about for not including in my top 10 spells to pick video, which I'll remake after the remaster and include more stuff for high-level characters as well, but that's for the future. For now, I would note that because this is an at-will ability, and spells with spell slots are not at will, it can be very good to use Bon Mot not only to check if their save is bad, but then if it works, it lowers that save even further, to thus have these crit fail effects that are ridiculously potent on a lot of these high-level spells, or a lot of these spells that are crowd control-y. The critical failure effects are really where a lot of their power is, and it causes those critical failure effects to happen just that little bit more, potentially instantly winning a certain percentage of fights. That's also ridiculously powerful. So if you're a spellcaster that wants to use a lot of these enchantment-y mental spells, I would highly recommend having somebody with Bon Mot in the party, so that way these can then be set up, and you can just smash right through. I think I've demonstrated that there are at least a few ways to use this one, and it is a good tool to have in an arsenal. So, if you are at a loss for what to pick as a skill feat on your high charisma character, I'd highly recommend giving Bon Mot a look, even if it's not normally something that you would take a look at, because, hey, how good can a -2 debuff be? The answer is very good, if you have the tools to support it. But if your party doesn't have any of these things, then you're probably going to get not that much use out of it, but I still think it's very potent, especially if you have a party of high charisma characters that can all try and demoralize. So with that, that's all I have for you today. Short one, but that's it.